So many people are saying that they're, after a few days of self-isolating or being quarantined, they're starting to, bug out basically and lose their minds. I've seen funny videos and pictures of people, getting bored and coming up with all kinds of funny, obstacle courses and things in their house because they've got nothing better to do. Is it a good thing, in your view, to learn to be content being alone? But and I suspect you will probably say yes, but doesn't the Torah tell us that it's not good for people to be alone? It says in Genesis, it's not good for man to be alone.
It's not good for man to be alone, and we should be making sure that we're not alone. And more than that, it's not just ourselves, it's not good for others to be alone. Let's make sure they're not alone too. The beauties are, we talk a lot sometimes about the perils of all the technological innovations that have occurred and the social media, but there's a lot of good in this as well. There really is. Had this crisis occurred 20 years ago, there were a lot more people alone.
Yeah. We wouldn't be doing this right now 20 years
What's
ago.
that?
We wouldn't be doing this 20 years ago.
Yeah, this interview right now, exactly. So, but so many people we can be daily in contact with, even a simpler device as a phone, but even more so with being able to see people on Zoom, on FaceTime, and so on. There's huge ability to not be in total isolation. And that I think is very, very important. It's, yes, you're 100% right. The Torah says, "Lo tova yasod le'mado." It's not good for man to be alone. Let's make sure that people out there don't need to be alone.
Right.
And when we need to reach out, let's make sure we're not alone.
But but do you not think, is there a place for learning how to be comfortable being alone, being okay with yourself, with your own thoughts?
I think there's a place for learning how not to have to run away. Part of the problem people learning to be alone is they're not dealing with the struggles that they're dealing with. So we often come with a lot of stress levels, and learning to be calm, learning to achieve calm, learning to achieve a relationship with God. These things are really, really powerful, and they help us be better givers for the rest of our life as well. Better, more calm people and more serene people and just better people for giving out that to the world. So yes, there's a place to learn to be alone, but alone ultimately for the sake of reconnecting and re-giving and building relationships together.
It's interesting because I've seen self-help books and life coaches and all these kind of things. Sometimes I've heard people saying, or maybe spiritual guides in other religions, that it's if you're not okay being alone and just being at one with yourself, then it represents that it shows that you're not sort of dealing with, basically saying that you should be okay to be by yourself.
I think
you're not dealing with issues if you.
I think it's like concentric circles. In Judaism, we look at the world as collective as well as individuals. So there's certainly the human is meant to be in interaction with others and meant to be building others around us and being built with them together. That said, if you've got a faulty piece of machinery or a faulty cell in a body, you want that cell to be able to rectify. It could be that one of the best ways to rectify sometimes is in work with others, but often it is by being alone with ourselves. That's when we hear and feel the stresses that are going on within us. And if we can move to a place of deep relationship with God, just shutting our eyes and just feel that connection with God and feel ourselves a channel for God's love to others, that could be one of the greatest cleaning out processes that we then go back into those relationships with and and both grow and give to others better as a result.
And two questions on the topic of when God says it's not good for man to be alone. First question is, does that imply that if you're just relying on God, let's say, and your relationship is just with God, then you're alone because God was already there with Adam?
It's, again, there's no question that ultimate answer is that it's not good for man to be alone is to be in relationship.
But relationship with human beings, or is he saying that it's not enough just to have a relationship with God, basically?
Of course, it's a relationship with God, but God built a world where we need relationship with one another, and where it's the together that comes to in relationship with God. We pray collectively, and the point of that is that our relationship with God is collective too. It's both as individual, but also as a family. It's a couple if a couple's married, but it's as a family, as a community, as a nation, and as humanity. All of those are in different relationships with God, and we're parts of all of them. And in general, when things are together, they produce properties that are greater than them individually. So we're not there to be self-centered, even spiritually. All that we do to our relationship with God is for the sake of bringing it back to others, and bringing it to others is part of enhancing yourself. Really, if it's ever about self versus others, there's probably both of them are going to not work very well. When it's okay to build ourselves to be a better vehicle to give to others, and in giving to others, we build ourselves. So they're really part of one big organic process that's all interconnected.
And also, just one last question on this topic. When God says it's not good for man to be alone, he's God. Didn't he already know this?
Of course, but God wanted, with everything in creation, God creates a stage of imperfection before perfection in order that we understand and feel within ourselves that it's not good for man to be alone. When God says not good for man to be alone, that builds a reality into creation where we feel and we're aware of that it's not good for us to be alone.
And why do we need that awareness?
We need the awareness, otherwise we'd do it. Otherwise we'd all sit. There is a drive within us to be alone, right? There's a drive that says it is good for me to be separate from you. And alone, by the way, we can be alone running around the world in interaction with people. Alone means I'm standing here for myself. You're out there as forums to make me feel happy, and I use you. That's called being alone. We need a voice inside us that says this is not good. We need one another. We need to connect to one another. We need to be in relationship with one another, giving to one another, and so on.
Absolutely.
To stay up to date with JTV content, click subscribe here if you're on YouTube and hit the alarm bell. And if you're on Facebook, hit the like button, and under following, click see first. If you enjoy watching JTV content and want to help us continue to grow, please consider making a donation to us by clicking here.